Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. It's Friday, and we are closing out the work week with some W's on today's show. Not a great show yesterday. Still had fun, to be honest with you. Had a couple really good episodes up. The first one wasn't great because it was all about picks that were 1-4 and lost 3.1 units. Understandably, that's frustrating for a lot of people. Miles Bridges under 29.5 points, rebounds, and assists was a hook, as he had 30 there in that blowout loss to the Lake Show. Crusoe went pretty cleanly over, as did Herb Jones. Pat Williams had 11 in the first quarter and just went off. And that was a bad read because Vooch was out, and Vooch was a slightly late scratch. I was making the video as he was being announced out, and so I still put it out and then saw he was available later. Didn't really even give you guys the warning. We're going to move on. Hallie was a great look at the under there because of the great matchup for the Bulls on defense. Still lost that game to the Pacers, who are looking awesome right now. But we'll get into some better stuff here, and we'll talk about that in a sec. The record on the season is up 2.1 units total, 9.8 on the props. Haven't been giving you the sides nearly as much later. Kareem is supposed to come on with me. I want to put together a prize picks play for you guys with him. That's a really solid strategy that he has in terms of using prize picks. So I want to get into some of that with him. But I wanted to make sure I at least got you some bets out here first. He couldn't make it here in time to get out this video with you guys because he doesn't really want to give away those numbers. Understandably so. Lines all moved pretty dramatically for him after he gave out some plays on this show. Enough people are watching it. There's enough things going on in the world right now where people are paying attention to what's going on in this show and moving lines. So understandably, he didn't want to do that today. So he'll be up a little bit later. But I've got some early plays for you with some guys still questionable, which is a big deal right now. Donovan Mitchell's questionable in this game with the Bucks and the Cavs, but I'm going to go with Damian Lillard over 24.5 points regardless. And it does look like Mitchell will play, maybe, probably. We're still waiting on shoot-around news. So the description of the video has the injury reports in it, linked to the direct injury report, as well as to the Underdog NBA fantasy. They basically track all of the injuries on the NBA really well on Twitter. So 50 points on a 40% usage rate the last time Dame played Cleveland. And we're going to go back to the well there for Dame to get the 25, because I think even if I kind of want Donnie Mitchell to play, honestly, so we can just have a bit more of a point guard battle in this game. And Dame will just sort of go back and forth with him a little bit, since Donnie will probably be getting the majority of the usage as well, close to 40% in a game that won't have a lot of guys in it, as we keep talking about. Karis LeVert might get some props in there too. Actually, don't even know if he's fully playing yet. But for Dame, we do know he's playing. We do know Giannis is playing, even though he was potentially, questionable. He's now probable. He's still probably a little bit hobbled. I'm sure he'll be fine. It's not really hobbling for Dame or for Giannis, but I still think it's a better matchup for him to sort of get some assists and give Dame a little bit more love against a Cleveland team that's much better down low, as we know, even without Evan Mobley in there. And Cleveland is allowing 27 points per game over their last 7 games to point guards. And we've got some similar point guards to Dame that are doing really good work in there. You got Luka that had 39. He's alien, so we don't really know if that matters to help our bet here. But Fred VanVleet, 27 and 17. He gave up 30. They gave up 35 and 10 to Trey. All these guys are playing really well, but gave up 20 to Sexton as well recently, which obviously isn't 25, but Colin Sexton not nearly the scoring point guard that Dame is, or the shooter that those other point guards I just mentioned are. If you can hit threes against Cleveland, you're good to go. So I think if Dame gets at least 3 or 4 in this one, then he'll also get some free throws, driving to the rim, and have the ball in his hands a lot with that usage rate. That's really what I'm focused on for Dame. For B-ball, Paul Reed, number 2 here. Got to get some Paul Reed love in there. He's coming off a 10-rebound game with 20 rebound chances. We're going to take him over 8.5 in this one. I think he's good for 10 again in this one, to be honest with you. So that's why I like the 9 that we would only need to go over. 6 of his last 10 without JoJo, he has gone over. Look at the 4 that he went under, only played 22 minutes a game. The 6 that he went over, he averaged 30 minutes per game in that time frame. Even got 8 boards versus Denver in less than 25 minutes in that game. So really impressive. Actually had 16 minutes. Yeah, so less than 20 minutes in that game, and still had the boards there because his rebound chance percentage is really high. But more importantly, the rebound chances are there for him. He just played 30 minutes against Orlando, 22 rebound chances and 10 boards in that one. And it's a kind of low rebound chance percentage for him. Obviously, you see that, but he's the center down there. There was a bit of a Mo Bamba experiment 2 games ago against Miami, and that experiment died on the vine. So now we are getting all of B-Ball Paul and no other real centers that are going to be in there for this team against the Houston Rockets. The last game that he played as well versus Orlando, I just want to mention it's a really similar style of play to what you're going to see with Houston, with a lot of really athletic wings. Although we don't know if Tari Eason's playing, I expect him to. We know Jabari Smith is not playing, and Dylan Brooks are both not playing. But either way, that we still know that this is a similar style team to Orlando, and that B-Ball Paul should be in there for mirroring at least the Şengün minutes, who will probably be getting close to 35 himself, because the power forward for this game is probably going to be Jayshawn Tate. And as much as I do like the ferocity that Jayshawn Tate brings, he's a 6'5" power forward, so you're going to need Şengün in there for rebounding as well. And Jayshawn Tate's better on the offensive boards, to be honest with you, than he even is on the defensive ones. But B-Ball Paul will be good for those defensive boards for sure as the main rebounder for this team, and will be good for some offensive boards as well, as he's a better rebounder, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people would agree than is Şengün. And that's the only area on the floor that he's better, but he is better. So let me get to best bet number 3 staying in this game. This is a little bit dicey because Dylan Brooks is out, and I really want Tari Eason to be in so that we can feel better about a Tyrese Maxey under 6.5 assists. And we're getting pretty decent juice for the under on this bet, even though he hasn't done this much. We are seeing that Houston, and people know this, is incredible at limiting assists. So that's why his assists are actually a little bit higher because Dylan Brooks is out, but I still feel great about the under. So Houston limits point guards to the fewest assists per game, in part because they have such great length on defense, and Dylan Brooks is a huge part of that. And they limit teams in general to the second fewest assists per game. A couple things going on there. They play high ball pressure, meaning that they're going to be up on you and in your jersey all over the floor, including and predominantly on the 3-point line, which is where they're going to drive guys off of the 3-point line, so they're not getting quite as many open shots, and they stick to their guys out there. They don't really collapse on defense once you get down low. They let guys like Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith, even Şengün remain one-on-one with their the guys that they're playing on when they're on defense, and don't really help off, which means there's not really open shooters, because that they want to keep you from getting those open threes. They basically have the second best 3-point defense in the league in terms of the amount of threes that they limit opponents to, and the second lowest 3-point percentage that they limit their opponents to. And that's a whole bit, all those two things, the pressure defense and the lack of threes that they allow, are a huge reason for the lack of assists that they allow, especially to point guards, especially to driving point guards like Maxey, who just finish when they get to the rim. The other aspect of this is they foul a shit ton. So even if Maxey does give the ball up on the drives, that he's going to be, he's going to be getting by everybody in this one, honestly. Like Fred VanVleet's not going to be able to stay in front of him. Tari Eason will probably play some time on him if he's in the game, to be honest, but we might even get some Amin Thompson in there on Tyrese as a really good perimeter defender and athlete, but not really good matchups for him once he gets into the lane. I think he's going to get by guys. I think he's going to finish around the rim. With B-Ball Paul down there, it's not like he's really going to be looking to assist anybody that's not himself, honestly, going to the rim. That's why in the last 4 games without JoJo, he's only got 4.5 assists, which is fewer than the 7 that he gets when Joel Embiid is in the game. He's averaging 7 assists per game this season with JoJo in the lineup. So the reason is pretty obvious. He's only got 7 potential assists in his last 2 without JoJo, and he's averaging just above 8 in the last 4 this season with Joel Embiid on the bench. So I wish Dylan Brooks was in. This would be beautiful. But honestly, if Dylan Brooks was in, this would probably be 5.5. Could probably still take that with Dylan Brooks in. But I am going to feel good about under 6.5 for him with or without Dylan Brooks in this one against a really good Houston defense. It's got a little bit worse. Still awesome at limiting assists, though. You can't get assists if you're at the foul line. They foul a shit ton. So let's go ahead and finish with a little bit of a lean, because we don't have Craig Porter Jr.'s lines up yet. But I know that even if Donnie Mitchell plays, Darius Garland ain't. Sam Merrill might not play either. And not that he would be taking too much from Craig Porter Jr., because he's really a nice, versatile, tall guard, more so than just a shooter the way Merrill is. But I think they're going to need him in there for defense just as much as anything. So let's give Craig Porter Jr. the over on what I would assume is going to be around 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. If it's up to like 23.5, 22.5, honestly, I might be out. I like this at like 19.5 to 21.5. And I think it could come out there. It might be higher. So just keep an eye out. But when it comes out, use this info to know why I like it, which is he's gone over in 3 straight without Garland. One of those is 21 points in rebounds and assists exactly. So if it's 20.5, that's 3 straight overs. If it's not, it's 2 straight overs with a little bit of a hook in there. And the reason is just obviously the usage rate goes up and the minutes go up. So we're looking at 39 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, his last 3 games. We need that to continue. And I don't know why it wouldn't in this matchup. So that's why I'm happy to run with him over. with the assumption that he's getting 30 minutes in this game. And he's man, it's crazy how good of a rebounding guard he is. And he's been getting a ton of dimes, even with Donnie Mitchell in there, who will probably dominate the ball. We know that. Not one of my favorite players to watch or to have on my team if he were on the Knicks, which he almost was. And I wasn't really that mad that he wasn't, to be honest with you. I think we kind of dodged a bullet because he doesn't make anybody around him better. But Craig Porter Jr. does. And so that's why there's no lack of fear of there's no fear of a lack of minutes for him, because they're going to need his defense, because they're going to need, even if they do get blown out, I should say, you still play the young Craig Porter Jr. in there for the Cavs and give him the experience. It's not like they're so thin right now with the amount of injuries that they have. Like, everybody is out for this team. Obviously, the most pressing ones here would be Donnie Mitchell if he doesn't play, but Mobley and Garland are both out. We need to see about LeVert. I still don't have that. He doesn't have props up. If LeVert is out, it probably will be closer to 23 and 24 and a half for Porter Jr. And then I'm still not that scared of it with LeVert out. But if he's in, we should have it right around here, and we're taking an over. So let's run through these bets for you real quick and get you out of here. Dame Lillard, over 24 and a half points. Paul Reed, over 8.5 boards. Tyrese Maxey, under 6.5 assists. And we go Craig Porter Jr., over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. If we do see LeVert in, if we don't see LeVert in, and this is around 23.5, 24.5, I'm good with it. If LeVert is in and we see this at 23, 24.5, I'm out, just so you know, on the PRA for Craig Porter Jr. That's all the time I have for you guys. I do want to mention one more thing, which is that I have another special episode up with Kareem K from yesterday that I posted later, which is about the really interesting DK_DFS. That's a dude on Twitter who is really good analyst, honestly, when it comes to sports betting and the angles that he finds. Seems like a really good dude. I'm going to get him on the show. So we're going to get directly from the horse's mouth exactly what happened in his perspective anyway, and how he sees things going down, what his take is on everything that happened with the sort of betting fiasco with Mikal Bridges. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and check out that episode that's up on the page right now. Subscribe to it if you would as well. Super helpful. If you would like the video, also super helpful. Get those views up. Sorry for the late video today, but I did want to make sure that I had some at least like decent lines up to give you and some news on the injury reports before he came out with this stuff. Let's end the work week on a winning night and then come back tomorrow on Saturday and win some more money. So till I see you then, happy betting.